information. So it will be available online after the fact. You are welcome to ask questions throughout. You can either unmute yourself and say them aloud or type them in the chat box, and I will field your questions for you to Ron. A few points in webinar etiquette. If you could please mute yourself when you're not speaking. That way we're not distracted by the ambient noise on your end. And if you, yeah, that's the main webinar etiquette I want to point out. So, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to let me know. But without further ado, I'll turn it over to Ron.
Hi, everybody. As Claire pointed out, my name is Ron Babuka. I was hired to be an iModules system administrator, and one of the jobs I have is to help train volunteers and answer the questions. An important thing I did want to point out is that the training we're doing right now is for you, and we provide continuous support. So moving forward, if you're ever working on an email or a website and you're having issues, there is a support process in place to help you. So this is not just one time and then we're done. Claire, I'm going to share my screen. So can you make sure what we're seeing is the correct desktop? You should be seeing a live view of Cornell.
Yep, that's what we see.
All right, so everybody can see it is cloudy and it's all right weather, but at least it's not snowing. So the first thing I wanted to show, as I show this to everybody, is that we do have an iModule support page. If there's, your engagement officer can make sure that you have this link. And there's a bunch of information. This is a living document that will provide, will be continuously updated as we learn a little bit more, share a little bit more, continuously update based on what our volunteers are asking us to help teach them. I did want to quickly go through this so everybody can kind of see what's on here. The first tab going right to left is a little site, a little tab that talks about getting into iModules, logging on. One piece it does also provide is a dashboard status. So if you were working in iModules and you weren't perhaps getting through, just to make sure that it wasn't on your end, it was on iModules, and you can click this link and it will tell you if the iModules modules themselves are up or down. And then down at the bottom, there is a link here to send an email to myself and my team, and we will, it creates a ticket in our system. You should feel free, if you want to work through and work with your engagement officer, to also go that route. But worst case scenario, you can always get in touch with us. My objective is always to get back to you within 24 hours, at least acknowledge the fact that we've received it. Another piece over here is a calendar that we will try to, is to list upcoming events. This is the second iteration of email and website training that we've done. We have some of them, as Claire said, they were recorded, and you can watch some of those if you want to. So this will be a good place to see if we're doing anything special for our volunteers. Next thing over is a training material tab, which is right here. It takes a second to turn on. And there's two sections. There's iModules provided training, and there's Cornell specific training that we have on. iModules has some really nice little training pieces. It's kind of generic, and it's a good place to go to once you've gotten familiar and you want to kind of refresh on a particular subject. You can click on these links and go to iModule provided training. Again, the training that we're doing right now will be down on these links if you wanted to rewatch it again. There's another section here related to web content. This is the section that's specifically built for today. There we go. Come on. It's a little slow today. This section is regards to maintaining and building your websites. And in the sections where it talks, basically, it breaks down the websites into a top, a middle, and a bottom section. So it talks about the top section, updating the middle section, and the bottom section. There are links that say click here, and then it's specifically, it breaks down to even more information where if I clicked here, it will open up another page that talks specifically about updating the middle section of the website, and there are PDFs that can be opened up that give you step-by-step instructions. And the last piece relates to emails. which is, we'll be doing another training, but it does the same exact thing. It talks about how to create an email. So moving on to how do we manage our websites. And I'm going to click on a link here, and I'm going to find it. Here is a website I use for purposes. This is the Cornell Mid-Hudson Alumni Association. We provide emails for both classes and clubs. They look fairly much the same. Claire, can you tell me, are there any classes involved in the training today?
No, we don't have any classes on, but I believe Elizabeth Brando, who's on, is the staff person who works with classes.
Okay, then I'll continue to include the classes and the clubs. I'll probably use the clubs for the most part of this example, but the classes work fairly much the same. One of the big differences here is that you'll see that this website is specifically dedicated to the Mid-Hudson Alumni Association. The class sites all share by the decades, which means if you go to a class website, you will go to the 70s, you will go to the 80s, you will go to the 90s, and then right up in here, you'll see, like say if you were talking about the 70s, it would be 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, and etc. So they kind of share a site. So, but they all basically have the same look and feel, and most of the information is all the same. I'll kind of share any little differences that we need to keep in mind. So the websites are all built on a template. They all have basically the same look. You'll see a top branded section. This is the same for everybody. There'll be a banner section. There will be a little section that introduces the particular class and club with a picture section on the side. And then down on the bottom, you'll always see this. You'll see a social media section, and you'll see this part down here. This part, the black and below, is delivered for everybody the same. That is not modifiable. So if you had a question saying you wanted to put something else down here, fortunately at this point, to maintain consistent branding, this part is delivered. It is not modifiable by classes and clubs. So let's work our way from the top to the bottom and how we would update some pieces. And again, if you have questions, Claire can chime in if anybody were to submit any. Right up here is a little banner section.
Hey, Ron, there's some ambient noise on your end. Is it just office noise or?
Okay, hang on 2 seconds and watch 1 second. I'll be right back.
All right, thank you.
I'm back now.
Are they all dead?
They're all gone. They're gone. So right up top here, in each class and club will have a banner section and a title. What I tell folks is that this section right here, the banners, it's a very long and wide and thin picture. And if you wanted to change this, I would work through your engagement officer. You can create a ticket with us, and we'll work to modifying this particular piece. The same goes right here. This little welcome to Cornell Mid-Hudson and Alumni Association. This little section can be modified, but you need to work through us. This section, you can put little words down here, a quick little introduction to the club, a little piece. Most clubs have a little welcome to our thing, and they might have a little piece down here. We can modify that. You just have to work through us. All right. Down below, we have social media sections. We have a Facebook, we have a Twitter, we have where you can send an email. And Claire, remind me, what is this little social icon? Do you know what that is? I can never remember.
That little IN?
Yeah.
That's LinkedIn.
Okay, LinkedIn. So if your club has its own Facebook site, its own Twitter account, if you have an email, like a mailbox you'd like all email to go to, again, working through us, we can update this. It's not something you have access to do, but it wouldn't take us more than a day to get this updated. All right. The next section, we have this little piece right here. All the templates are stocked with one picture. So a lot of classes and clubs would have this one picture, and they'll say, I'm the Mid-Hudson Alumni Association. Why do I want to show pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge? Well, this can all be changed. So the first thing I wanted to do was to, excuse me for a second here, I need to reopen this page so I can get back and have my administrator access. There we go. And bear with me for a second. I'm going to close this. I'm going to open this back up. And I am going to, give me a split second, because normally there are icons for modifying it and they are not showing up. So all I'm going to do is open up my instance again. This is something that as an administrator I have access to. It's not something you have access to, so don't worry about if you don't see this parts. And I'm going to find Mid-Hudson. Oops, Hudson, I have to spell it right. There we go. Perfect. What I was missing was these little pieces here. When you're logging in, these little icons that we're going to see right here tell you that you're logged in and you have administrator privileges. It's a good example to show you is when I first logged in, and you notice we didn't see these. So iModules wasn't recognizing me as an administrator. So let's say we want to modify this little piece right here. The first thing we want to do is we want to add in another picture. And I'm going to explain these little buttons. This little button will add, it's called adding news. And you say to yourself, I'm adding a picture, I'm not adding news. It's how the functionality is deployed. We're using a news feature there. So don't worry about that. You're going to click on it, it's going to say add news, but just go ahead anyway. So what we're going to do is a window will show up. In my computer, it's designed to open up a window on another monitor. So bear with me, I'll drag the monitors over. But the first thing we need to do is we are going to add a little title. We'll call this Hudson Bridge. And right down here, we're going to bring in the picture we want to bring in. We're going to click this little icon, and I'm going to go to my pictures, and I'm going to find a picture that I had stored, just a little bit of Hudson Bridge. And I'm going to open this up. Now it says Hudson Bridge JPEG. And now I can scroll down here and I can add in, this is the Hudson Bridge. So I did three things basically. I gave a title, which we'll see when that shows up. I ingested the image, and down underneath the content body, I put a description. I'm going to hit create. It's going to take a second. The page has to redraw, and now one thing you'll notice is right here we have two little icons. If I click that icon, there's the Hudson Bridge picture. All right. If I click this, this is our picture. One thing you'll notice is the size is slightly different. Notice how I'm moving along here. This picture is like 555 pixels by 340. The picture I brought in was slightly different. There isn't a great way to adjust the sizes, so my suggestion would be to take your image and make it the size you want it to be, and then bring it in. The next question is say if I want to change the order. Now with two, it's kind of hard to do because they're just going to go picture one, picture two, picture one, picture two. They're going to rotate. But if I had 4 or 5 pictures, all I need to do is click this little edit order button right here. Click on that, a window pops up. Here are my images, and then I can move the order. If I had 5 pictures, I could, change the transition order. So that's all you need to do is to manage the order in which the images show. Next thing I want to do is if I wanted to edit the component, and let's click right here again. If I wanted to edit that order, I can bring this back over here. It opens up another window. It takes a second to drag it over here. And I can put in, again, I can change the wordage to be another title. And what I wanted to show was, we're going to go down here and we're going to hit save. I'm going to hit my little button to go over here. Notice how what happened was I had put the picture on the wrong block. When we first did it, I had Hudson Bridge. I had another title. I had put in here, this is the Hudson Bridge. If we go over here, we notice it didn't say this is the Hudson Bridge. So that's just kind of an update that if all of a sudden you put a description in and it's not showing up, all you need to do is go back, click that little button. It brings up this panel, and then we can just change and put something down here. So don't fret if all of a sudden something's not showing up. It's just we probably put it in the wrong place. And half the time, I can't even remember where it goes. I just kind of play with it that way. So now the question is say you've had a couple pictures showing and now you want to get rid of one. Maybe you had a couple pictures up here that were rotating through and the pictures are of a timely nature. Say it was past event and now we want to get rid of them. How do I get rid of a picture here? All I do is find the picture I want to remove. I want to remove this picture, and I come over to this little red remove content. I select that button. Do you want to remove the content? Yes. I hit yes. It's removing the content. Takes a second. Now, you notice there's no multiple dots here. There's only one picture. So that's how we can play here. All right. Again, if we wanted to change this, Word has this little piece, all we have to do is click on that edit content and go in and change the fields. So a lot of people like to change their images, and that's how you can change these images, pretty easy. The next section is the bottom piece right in here. We're going to talk about this section. Basically, these are feeds. Right now, we are providing, we provide Alumni Association Facebook feed. We provide an Alumni Association Twitter feed and Alumni Institution or Alumni Association Instagram feed. This again is something that you can send us the link for, and we will have these replaced with what you'd like. The one thing I always tell people is that if you give us a Facebook link and you'd like it down here, it requires that the Facebook be not a private. This widget will not work with a private Facebook page. It has to be a public Facebook page. So just a little piece of background here. So now this is the middle section. This is where a lot of the work gets done, where a lot of the content is placed on websites. And we can create these little tabs. Right now we have 3 tabs. Every page, the templates will deliver you with 1 tab and a community tab. All right. They do not come populated. So you can decide, perhaps on this page, I want to put in some history of the club. How do I do that? So the first thing we can do is see this little icon, these little buttons here. These basically allow you to update everything from that button down. So we don't have a little icon up here, a little face. So what we want to do is we want to add a little content block right in here that we can put some words. So right up here, you'll notice we've got a couple little things. We can add a new page, and that each, think about it, as a page is a tab. So we have page 1, page 2, page 3. These are new pages. But say I want to add in some content right here. All I have to do is go over this little section here called Content Modules, and this allows me to drop down a block. We always want to do mobile ready. Think about it as more and more of our websites have to become mobile friendly. And if we select mobile ready content and we drag it down, these little blocks appear just like that. And what it's going to do in a split second is, oh, it put it down below. I hate when that happens. So hey, I just did this. I put this block and it went into the wrong place, right? I'm going to teach you how to get rid of it, and I'm going to put it back in. This little button right here called Content Builder is one of your best friends. If you click this button, this page is all going to kind of go gray in here. And what I can do is move my cursor over top this and watch right here. Bam. Do you want to remove that little block? So that's going to be often the things that can happen is, and if I click the little content button up here again, it goes back to our normal page. And sometimes I will tell you that sometimes getting these little blocks to go in the right page is sometimes, it's very sensitive. So again, it's a perfect example of what can happen. So sometimes it does go in the right place. We just delete it and move it back in. So I'm going to grab this slot again, mobile content block, and I'm going to drag it right down in there. Oh, it keeps moving in the wrong place. Well, that's my bad luck. But let me show you how I'm going to do this. I'm going to go actually over here where it's a little easier. This is a test page. Notice this little icon here. I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to click this content module, mobile ready, grab it, and then slide it down right there. So now we have a second block. If I click on this block, it's going to open up a window. And this is a standard thing we're going to see every time. The name is here. And what we want to do is we just want to hit the next button. Select next. And now what this allows me to do is, do I want one column, one big giant block, or do I want a 50-50 block, or a 60-40 block, or any kind of columns? So for this example right now is I'm going to take this block, I'm going to make one giant block of content. I'm going to select it, and now I can hit this button that says click here to add content. It's now going to bring up this window. If you do emails, this will look very familiar. So what I can add in here is, this is where I will add in my text. I'm going to hit apply. It's going to give me a preview. I can hit save, and in a second the page is going to redraw and say, this is where I added my text. So this is where we can start to add in content. One of the things sometimes I get asked is, well, if I have one content block, why would I want to have keep adding in a content block? One of the things it allows you to do is it allows you to leave one section alone and just add a new piece. And then remember how we were able to go up here to hit the content block? We can always scroll down here again, and we can just remove a section without having to modify or play with the section that we like. So it just gives us some flexibility. Additionally, and I'll go back up here, hit this, remove this, it also allows me to do something like this. This is one giant content block. If I came over here, I could open up again. I can go back and I'm going to hit next. And I'm going to change this to be 3 columns instead of 1. And now perhaps I'm going to have one column says this. If I click over here, this is my second column. I'm going to hit apply. And now if I click a little button over here, this is my third column. I can hit apply. I can save this. And now look, when the page redraws, I have 3 different columns. So it gives me some flexibility in how I present my information. So often you see is somebody will have a big long description of text, and then maybe they'll have a list of class officers, and they'll have 3 columns. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility there. So now, let's go back, and what else can we do here? We can click on our icon. Again, we're going to leave this. We're going to hit next. And one of the things I wanted to show was, this shows right up here is if you wanted to see the phone view. This shows us a desktop view. If I hit phone view, this is what it would look like on a mobile device. So where we have things laying across, left to center to right, on a phone, it would link top, middle, and bottom. So it's just something to be aware of on these mobile-ready contents. Things may deploy differently. All right, I'm going to hit back here. And I just wanted to kind of show you that, to keep in mind that the mobile devices may present the information differently. So another thing we can do is we can store in images. I can, again, open any block I want to, edit this community. My window pops up. Again, I'll be hitting this next button. This is just, I would just leave this all alone. I can open up my block, and I can do all kinds of, hit the edit button, and then I can kind of play with some stuff here. Now, across left or right, you'll see if you put your cursor over top these buttons, it'll tell you what they'll do. I can place in plain text, or I can paste in a Word document. One thing I always like to tell people is that what you really don't want to do in these types of, on this site is to cut and paste words straight in. Because the Word document has styling behind the scenes. And if you cut and paste that in, it often will bring in that styling and display it here, and it may adversely impact the way it looks. So what you can do sometimes is, if you had a Word document and you want to put the content in here, you can select this, take what you copy and pasted from Word, and then place it in here. And then if you hit paste, it will add in into that content block below. So if you had Word, so if you had something from Word document you wanted to put on your website, that's the way I would advise doing it, is do that. The best way I would often do cut and paste things, the way I like to sometimes do it, is to cut and paste in from a Word document and cut that into a text editor. That should strip off all the Word documents. It's just the way I do it, but again, you can use this functionality. There is an image manager right here. So one of the things we can do is if we wanted to bring in an image, is we don't want to cut and paste an image. Again, it may adversely impact the way the page is deployed. What we would do here is we click the image manager. And what that allows you to do is to upload images that you can store, right? And we can then store the images and then deploy them. So what I've done here also is just, let's say I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to hit cancel. Let me rephrase that. I'm going to hit my image button again. And what I can do is, say if I want to store an image, I can go over here and I click this upload button. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to hit the select button. I could then go find an image. I can select the image I want, and then I can upload the image. Now what it's going to do is it's just stored that image in my iModules repository. And this will stay here forever and ever and ever. You can actually create folder structures if you want to. And then if I selected that image, this will preview what the image will look like. I can also select the properties. I can change this size of it by saying, like, say, 350. And one of the things you'll notice is that it keeps the ratios. I can come over here. Now I've got the right size. I say insert. It's now inserted the picture into my column. I hit apply. I hit save. And watch what happens. There's the image. All right. So let's go back again. Say if I want to put a hyperlink in. I can do the same exact thing. I'm going to hit next. I'm still keeping this as a single block. I'm going to edit it. Now I want to put a hyperlink in. There's a little button right here, Hyperlink Manager. Hyperlinks should all be done via the Hyperlink Manager tool. Over here, I can add in a hyperlink itself, which would be www.cornell.edu. Not edu, edu. I can put a text underneath here, launch Cornell site. So you would not see this, but you would see this site. I can also put a tooltip in, which would say, click here to go to Cornell site. And so what will happen is over top that link, that word will show when I flip my cursor above it. So if I now say OK, there we go. We don't show the URL because I put the text in. If I hit save and save it, the page is going to redraw, and there is my site. And there is the tooltip that shows up. So we can add all kind of images. Let's go back again. I'm going to hit my block. I'm going to say next. I'm going to edit it. I can do things here like left justify, center justify, right justify. I can add in numbers and bullets. I can do all kinds of cool things. Now, one other nifty thing we can do here is this little button right here, Document Manager. And I'm going to show this again a little bit later. But say if you had bylaws, you had a web document that you wanted to just share instead of cutting and pasting, this will allow us to launch a document manager that looks just like the image manager, and I can upload in images. And then when I say insert them, it will put in a link so we can open up. I'm going to show you in a second how that's deployed, but I just wanted to show you there's lots of cool little things we could do here. We can change the sizing, we can change the fonts we use, we can add in indent and outdent. So it's something you can kind of play with and have some fun with, all right? One piece of advice is right here. This is design. This is an HTML section. My words of advice is do not play with the HTML. If they really want to play with the HTML, you should be working with your engagement officer and you can talk with us, but I would stay away from HTML as much as possible. Use the design tool, all right? So I'm just going to save all that again, and we have a little piece right here. So now you're sitting here saying, oh, I'm going to click here just to show you some more capabilities we have. We also have, I showed you how to put in an image. Now, a cool thing we have right here is a ability to have a rotator. Some clubs like to have just a sliding, a slideshow of rotators. So what I'm going to actually do is just going to show you how this looks now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add another tab. So we have this tab, this tab, this tab. I showed you how we add in a block. I now want to add in another tab. So I go right over here, underneath says new page. And what we want to do is we want to, again, we're going to use mobile ready content, and we're going to add in a new page. And it comes up with a page title. And I'm going to call this Cats Page. I'm going to hit the little go button. Now you're saying to yourself, where's the page? I just inserted a new page or a new tab. This happens all the time in iModules. A very powerful section called the sitemap. We came up this upper left-hand corner. There's a little sitemap right up here. We open that. It's going to click open a window. And look what it did. It took, we were on a training page, so it put the Cats page underneath the training page. But we can't see it. So now what I want to do is take this Cats page, select it, and drag it right up underneath home navigation. Do you want to put it there? Yes, I do. Now it has Cats page right here at the bottom. If I hit save and I hit close, watch what's going to pop up. Cats page is right there. All right, so now it's shown up. Again, if a page doesn't show up, sitemap, and then look here, all right? Now, all the pages that are visible are in black. And you can just say to yourself, hey, what are these yellow pages? I'll get to that in a second, but that's how we can hide a page and unhide it. And that'll allow us to work on a page and nobody can see it until we want to make it visible. Well, let's say I'm going to go to Cats page over here. And I want to insert that cool little image rotator. We now, earlier I'd shown you how to insert text, and I showed you how to insert an image. I want to have that little image rotator show up. That looks kind of cool. So all I have to do down here is, again, is anytime we're going to add in a new content block, is we're going to come over here to content module. And this time I'm going to grab this little thing called image rotator. And I'm going to drag that down here. And I got to find the right place for it. Now notice how that's a little widget looks like a block in a pencil, because we're updating a content block. This looks like a series of pictures. It says edit image rotator. If I click on that, it's going to come up with a little box that looks like this. And it's got all these little pictures over here. And I'm going to show you how we add the pictures in a second. But what I can do is I can drag up images. I'll drag this one here, and I'll drag this one up here. And next thing we know, and after I hit save, watch what it does. Now I've got some pictures. And you're saying, hey, Ron, you put 2 pictures in. How do we get them to move? Let's go back And what we want to do is we want to set it up as a slideshow. And what we can do is we can sit here and we can say the duration is 4 seconds, right? So now if I hit save, the page is going to redraw itself. 1, let's count 4 seconds, and it's changed. Well, Ron, we went from a big picture to small picture. How do I get this to be the right size? Let's click again. I'll draw this over here. The page has to, my little icon has to show up. Right here, I'm waiting for iModules. This is from our screen. It's taking a second to redraw. Let me do that again. I'll click this little icon. I'll bring this over here. I can always put the height and width in it. Say if I made this 550 by 350, it's going to redraw it. There's also another little button right over here. That will give us the ability to manually navigate through. So now I'm going to save. And I draw it. Now it's a better picture. Because I hit that little icon that said navigate, I got this. So all it was is coming over again, adjusting the size here, setting it as a slideshow. This gives me the ability to manually move the buttons, and this is how long it takes before it'll automatically move them. If I want to just get rid of this, I can get rid of the time, and it won't automatically move the pictures. I've got to manually move the pictures. So you got a lot of flexibility in how you can do these pages, all right? So the next thing I wanted to do is, hey, Ron, I don't like the order that these pages are shown in. Again, we're going to go back to our sitemap. Everything goes down through the sitemap. If I right-clicked above this and say sort channel, hey, look, here's my pictures. So I could take Kat's page and I can move it up or down. All right. Notice the hidden pages here say hidden. They also relate to the pictures that are in yellow. So I can just move the order up, and if it's a hidden picture, I move out of the hidden picture, it'll just change the order, and that hidden picture won't be seen. So this is what I can do is, let me show you what we can do is to make an image, like say I've been working on a page, and I'm going to call this Claire's page. If I click on that, and right here, I scroll down, exclude this page from navigation. If I unclick that and I save it, watch Claire's page went from, oh, I got to save it. It takes a second. And let's go back. And then I'm going to close this. Watch Claire's page is going to show up. There it is. And if I go back and hit that sitemap, notice how Claire's page is no longer in yellow. So yellow pages are hidden. We hide them by excluding it. So that'll allow you to work on a page and nobody sees it while it's in work in progress. And again, I can move the order of these pages around just by hitting the sitemap, clicking on my home page, right click, and sorting the channel. All right. And again, everything I'm talked about is documented in a step-by-step process on that help screen. So you can see these step-by-step instructions. So on Claire's page, remember how I talked about I had a Word document, like our bylaws. And what this allowed me to do was, I just wanted to store the document itself. Takes a second sometimes. It's thinking. I always want to go through here, back to the content block. I'm going to edit it. What I did was to put that Word document in so people could open it. I just went to the right here. Oops, here's Document Manager. I select the document that I'd saved. I can upload it just like an image. This works exactly like how you would upload the document. I select the image. I can put a tooltip in here that says, again, click to open bylaws. I open it. It's now inserted at just below here. I've applied it. I save it. And watch what happens when the page redraws. There's a link, so if I click on this, open it up, I can open up the Word document. And voila, here it is. So that allows you not to have to copy and paste, but you can store important documents and then list them as a hyperlink. All right? What else do I have here? The image rotator. Remember we talked about the image rotator? That was this little section on Kat's page that allows me to click and, oh, Kat's page is here. Click and move through these. The question becomes is, how do I get these images in here? If we went right over here, images, that opens up a little window, and this is where I can add images. This is a repository of images, just like before, but this is only used for the image rotator. And this is one of the things that people get kind of confused on, because the first thing they were thinking is, well, I've got to do a news feature up here. I have my image manager, which is I use in my context blocks, but I also have files that I store for my image rotator. So you just kind of wrap your head around those three things. There are three different ways of storing an image. Image rotators need to store the images here. All I would do here is select an image, click on this. I can find an image, save it, and now if I save it, it takes a second to redraw. And I'm just going to reopen up that image again. Open up my image library. Voila, there it is. So bear in mind a couple things. This is one type of image that we store on a community page or a content block. We use the image manager. And then on a rotator is on Kat's page, we have to store the image here. So it's just, and again, this is all documented, but if there's any ever confusion, this is again where you reach out to your engagement officer, or you can go back to that help page, which was on the support here, underneath here, and you can send me a question. It says, hey, Ron, how do I store pictures from my image manager? And I'll talk you right through the process, all right? So I wanted to take a quick break for a second and see, did anybody have questions? Because I went through a lot of material.
And you can feel free to ask them aloud or put them in the chat box if you'd like.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the cool things I did want to share is you can also do video. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up another club, and I'm going to go to my site that you, this is only for administrators like myself, system administrators. I want to kind of show you a cool thing that I've done for the Cornell Club of Mid-America.
Yeah.
America. I'm going to bring up their website. Notice one of the things here, I added a tab. And this is kind of a proof of concept I did for them. If we click here, and we have a tab where I'm just storing video. And I assume we can see this run, right? So the nice thing is you can actually store video that streams, especially for sites, you know, people haven't been around the Cornell campus. You can bring in little videos. And what you would need to do is, if it's a Cornell video, is you can contact and say, I found this cool Cornell video on the Cornell site. I'd like to put it on our website. Only system administrators like myself can put video on a website. If you have something that you've done yourself and you store it on YouTube, we can also ingest those videos. And for this example's sake, I'm going to show you what the class of, I think it's a class of 55. And they're in the 50s. And this is a great example to show you what a class site looks like. Slightly different here because they all share the decades. And I think it's class of 55. Or it's 54. Or it's 52. Bear with me. Or is it 57? Here it is. One of the cool things the class of 57 did is they made a little video inviting their classmates to come to class reunion. So there's a cool little thing, and this is on YouTube. And right now it's frozen because we're doing a video through Zoom. But it's a cool little video, and all the class officers have done their own personalized invite. So there are lots of cool little things you can do with your sub-communities. Or it's a sub-community you can do with your websites. One thing I would advise against is you tend to get a lot of clubs will do one or two tabs, and they put everything down, and they've got these pages that are like really, 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 really long. And I hate showing other folks' class sites. My advice is to break and use these tabs, because that gives the ability to kind of pick and choose what they want to look into. And I'm going to bring up one other little site that does something that's really kind of cool. And I'm going to bring up, this is the Cornell Club of Rochester. One of the things we can do on the sites is we can bring in events. Now notice there's not a lot going on here. They've got community. They actually don't have anything here. They're still building the sites. They've put events on their websites, and hopefully there's some active events. And the way this works is you can place your events on your website. These are all archived. They don't have any current active events right now, but it's as simple as we would hit active, default to active, and you would get a listing like this. So anytime we built an iModules event for you, they will automatically show up here. You don't have to go in and update your site every time you want to list an event that's ongoing. This can be system generated. And again, this is a slightly more advanced concept that we're not going to cover in Website 101. We'll do that in future sites. But you do have the ability to have your events systematically produced on a site without you having to do anything. So that's kind of a cool little feature. It's a nice integration that we have here. And I want to give anybody an opportunity if anybody had any questions that they wanted to ask or any things they wanted to share. Anything, Claire?
No questions in the chat box right now, no.
Sounds great. At this point, that's about a lot of what I wanted to go through was just going through the basics. The thing you want to do is when you build these websites is kind of go in and play a little bit. The good thing is that these websites are archived. They're archived on a daily basis so that if the page gets, if something some unforeseen circumstance happens, we can regenerate your website back to the way it was. Now, the one caveat here is that's with the clubs. If it's a class site, remember the class sites share. So we would have to regenerate all the classes back. So that ones we take, it's a little bit more difficult. But outside of that, play a little bit, try to draw the contents in. Remember these little sections are, again, people want to know how they get rid of a little block. It's just this little content block up here. And go forth and play a little bit and have some fun with it. If there's, we do specialized training that if you still want to have a little hand holding, it's part of our job, is what we do. And so I don't have a problem doing a web session with you and then walking through what you want to do and helping you talk through that. and I can watch what you do. And I've done it with a couple classes and clubs. I've looked at what they've done. We've talked through it. They've made the changes, and I'm just watching what they do, and I can stop them or help them out. So it is a service we offer.
That's excellent. Thanks, Ron. So if there's no more questions, I'll end the session, but I'll be sending you all a survey shortly, and it would really help us greatly if you could fill that out. Regardless, thank you very much for being here, and thank you, Ron, for presenting.
Appreciate it. Have a great day. Bye-bye, folks.
Bye, everyone.
See you, Claire.
Bye, Ron.
Have a great night.
You as well.
See ya.